Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Digital Health Entrepreneurship. If you've listened to any of our previous episodes, you know that Laurence loves soccer and had a dream of being a professional soccer player that is maybe still there, but recently you decided, why not just start your own soccer team? So we have a other soccer genius with us on the call today, Michael Hitchcock. And Laurence, tell us about the soccer team and why you wanted to start New Amsterdam Football Club.
Well, when I was younger, I wanted to play professional soccer, so I played for the youth team with the New York Red Bulls, and that's where my interest in diet and exercise started, which eventually became more of a public health interest when I decided to go to medical school. And that's ultimately what led to me starting Fruit Street and delivering our diabetes prevention program. So my interest in diet and exercise always started with soccer. And I think when I was 18, I got a little frustrated with soccer, and I was like, maybe I'll just focus on something that I had perceived to have more of a social impact and go to medical school. And I kind of thought sports was like a little, I don't know, maybe silly or something like that. But then in the last 4 or 5 years, I came back to it and basically started enjoying it, started playing again, but also realized that a lot of these clubs can have a big social impact in their communities, just like medicine does, where with youth programs, even direct things like just helping kids live a healthy lifestyle through diet and exercise. I mean, childhood obesity is a huge problem, right? But I think it can also do a lot to build character and that kind of thing. So I guess have a more mature appreciation for sports a decade later and the role it plays in, society, I guess. So it's a pretty long story, but to make a long story short, we had an opportunity to start a professional soccer team in New York City in a new league called NISA, which is the National Independent Soccer League, which is very grassroots. And I love grassroots things that are kind of community-based. But basically, we decided to start a professional soccer team called New Amsterdam Football Club. And I met Michael, and Michael is a soccer genius. So we decided that we had enough business people that knew about soccer to start something. So Michael, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, and I love the title Soccer Genius. I'm gonna add that to the business card. But I've been in the soccer management business for 25 years. Started in Major League Soccer in the early years when the league launched. Let me tell you, from very humble beginnings, that league has grown, and it's been incredible to see just in the last 25 years how much the sport's grown in this country. And many people may not realize that the '94 World Cup is really what helped springboard and launch Major League Soccer, which was all about bringing the beautiful game to the U.S. in a meaningful way and providing opportunities to local players, local executives, local coaches, businesses throughout the United States to be able to invest in the sport of soccer and help it grow. And it's boomed. And so the great sports pioneers that have launched the NFL, professional soccer, professional tennis, the Lamar Hunts of the world always said soccer will become the second most popular sport in this country, and this was 25 plus years ago. And it's pretty interesting to see in the last 5 years in particular that it's starting to get there. And so it's absolutely awesome to work on something like New Amsterdam Football Club, where you've got arguably the best market in the country to invest in a grassroots soccer club that can really connect with the community on so many different levels, give back on so many different levels, and to work with a visionary leader like Laurence and a passionate, brilliant soccer mind like Max. It's a pretty incredible project, and we're real bullish on what the future looks like for New Amsterdam.
Mm-hmm. So, Michael, I'm going to make you, or I'll ask you to share the story about when you almost went to medical school, since it's so similar to what I almost did. Do you mind?
No, I don't mind at all. So I'm the beginning of the soccer bubble in this country, where friends older than me didn't play soccer, and almost every friend younger than me did. And so, Lamar Hunt, Phil Anschutz, all the pioneers for soccer in this country always talk about the soccer bubble. And so I was sort of the beginning of it. And so fell in love with the game at a young age, went to an Atlanta Chiefs, Seattle Sounders game with my dad, who was a big American football guy, and, didn't know anything about soccer, but was introduced to the sport through me, and just loved the passion and just connected. And so grew up playing the sport, loved the sport, played in college at Virginia Commonwealth University, and where sort of my passion for the sport became a career decision is I thought I wanted to be an orthopedic surgeon. I had a lot of surgeries and injuries growing up playing soccer and all sports at a high level, and so just thought, man, there's a chance for me to give back to athletes and to help them out. And so I actually got into med school. So I got into the Medical College of Virginia, which is tied in. MCV is tied into VCU, and after playing 4 years of soccer there. And there was a crazy afternoon at Crazy Charlie's, a bar right off campus, where me and a couple of guys I graduated with were having a beer, and they said Hitch, which is my nickname, which I was never the best player, far from it, but was always seen as sort of a leader, and had it together, at least was the perception, if not the reality. And so they said, you're going to med school, you got to figure it out. What do we do? And so I said, let's do this, guys. And I'm a keep it simple type of person. I said, let's get a napkin and a pen from the waitress, and let's write down 3 words that describe our passion. And so I did the exercise with them, and wrote down sales, marketing, and soccer, and just 3 things I absolutely love more than anything else, and realized there's nothing on there about medicine. While I was trying to pursue going to med school, that wasn't it. That wasn't my passion. And so I decided at that moment, pulled up that napkin, put it in my wallet, and Major League Soccer had already been announced that it was going to start the next year, and ended up getting an entry-level commission, ticket sales, no base salary, just you made what you sold. Job at DC United, one of the flagship franchises in the league, began back in '96. And so I was heading down the path of going to med school and thought I had it all figured out. And let me tell you, that conversation with my dad to let him know that, good news, bad news, Dad. Good news, I found my passion. Bad news is it's not med school. And, he had a few choice words for me. And he goes, all right, so what is it? And I said, I'm going to go work in professional soccer. Well, imagine that conversation 26 years ago in this country, where no one thought pro soccer was going to make it. So similar, and decided to follow my passion, and have been very fortunate to be able to work in the sport of soccer since that moment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a great story. Actually, one of the investors who just invested in the Amsterdam Football Club is this physician who's from London originally. He lives in the U.S. now, and he reminded me of this concept. I had forgotten what it was, but I'll just share my screen for a second. It's called Ikigai. It's some Japanese phrase. So it's basically like what you love, what you're good at, what you can be paid for, what the world needs. The world definitely needs soccer entertainment, because as we've seen with no sports right now with COVID-19, everybody's going nuts. But anyway, I thought this was pretty interesting. So the guy told me that, he thought for Fruit Street and for soccer, I had it Ikigai, which is why he invested. I think Michael has it also. But it's an interesting question. But anyway, I guess let's see. What would you say, Michael, to people that think that maybe, I don't know, someone like my mom, let's say, that thinks that, oh, what is this whole thing of kicking a soccer ball around? What does this even mean? I mean, do you think that soccer has the ability to kind of have a social impact on communities, whether it's at the youth level or otherwise? I mean, what have you seen there?
Yeah, so I'll say travel the world, and you'll see the impact that soccer has on every community, every neighborhood, anywhere in the world. And it's called the beautiful game for a reason, and it's not because there's a ton of goals. And while there are some moments of brilliance on the field when you watch a Messi or Ronaldo, it's really the beautiful game because of the impact it has on its communities. And so the cool thing is the sport has evolved and grown so much in the U.S. that we're now seeing that there's kids are using basketball courts to play futsal, which is the indoor version of soccer played on a basketball court, not basketball. And so the impact that it can have on communities is incredible. The sport, obviously, you've got to be fit. It promotes active lifestyle. You've got to eat healthy. You've got to be disciplined. You have to understand all those critical concepts to being a good citizen in life, is being a good teammate on the field, where it's not like other sports where one superstar can truly make the difference. There's 11 guys out there, and the amount of times you touch the ball is so limited that you've got to be an incredible teammate to ensure your team succeeds. And so, for me, I'm so passionate about the game. I love the game. I love the business of the game. And when you run and operate a team the right way, the business and the sport has evolved to the point that you can now reinvest in your community. And so, the cool thing about, Major League Soccer in the early days, it was all about grassroots. Well, as Major League Soccer has grown and has truly taken that next step to that next level as a sport and as a league, there's a vacuum underneath that of opportunity for lower division clubs to come in and sort of fulfill that, I think obligation, but certainly opportunity to give back to the communities. And so, you take a soccer ball and you go to any rec center anywhere in the country, and you'll see the impact that the game can have. And so when you take that to the next level and use your players as positive role models and ambassadors to give back to the community, which you see what's going around the country right now. It's never been more important for a sport like soccer to become something that unifies people and brings people together and gives back on all those different levels. So, yeah, it's an amazing sport, and the impact it has. And when you look at the cost of it, it's not like hockey or football where you need all this money to invest in just infrastructure and equipment. Soccer is it's a ball or something that resembles a ball, and you can throw down a couple T-shirts, and you've got yourself whether it's dirt, grass, cement, you've got a soccer pitch. And so that's why it's a beautiful game, and the game all over the world that people love.
Yep. I'd like to add to that. One amazing thing is that 5-year-olds can play it. I mean, they run around and it's chaos, but it's not easy for 5-year-olds, for instance, to play baseball. Hey, Laurence, riddle me this. Why is Fruit Street sponsoring New Amsterdam Football Club? What's the connection?
Fruit Street is a public benefit corporation, which means we are a for-profit company, but we have a mandate to also make decisions that have a social impact. And in many cases for public benefit corporations, that's in their local community. So Fruit Street's headquartered in New York. This is a New York team. So that's one reason, just to be kind of good, call it a corporate citizen, I guess, and just do something for the community. I think the second thing is that it's just sports sponsorships can do amazing things. I mean, one of our customers, ShareCare, sponsors the Atlanta Hawks in the NBA. I think Fitbit sponsors an NBA team as well. It was the Minnesota Timberwolves, I believe. There's Blue Cross Blue Shield plan. Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield sponsors the New York Red Bulls. I think also New York Presbyterian, I think, sponsors a MLS team as well. So, I mean, sports sponsorships can do a lot to build, credibility and that kind of thing. And so I think, and actually it's had a really interesting effect. We run all these different LinkedIn ads to investors, and we've done that for Fruit Street. We've done it for New Amsterdam. I actually have run some ads for New Amsterdam where there were people that were not interested in investing in Fruit Street that then saw a New Amsterdam ad, talked to me, made a connection with me over soccer, and then they decided to invest $50,000 into Fruit Street and $50,000 into New Amsterdam, when previously, when we were just running the Fruit Street ads, they were investing $0. So it's something that just adds credibility to the company as well. But Michael, do you want to talk about, I guess, your view on like the power of sports sponsorships as well for companies?
Yeah, I think the cool thing with the sports sponsorship is you really have a blank canvas. It's not like you're buying airtime on a TV station, radio station, a billboard, but it can include all those elements and so much more. And so the nice thing is when you find the right partner that is very similar in core values and what they're trying to accomplish in the community. And a lot of this is community based and cause-related marketing provides significant value, but there's a way to really, in a meaningful way, give back to the community and also grow someone's business. And so, the beautiful thing, we always call it the sort of white, dry erase board sort of approach to sponsorship is we sit down with the sponsor and we just find out what their needs are and what are their core values and what can't they get from just traditional advertising or marketing and, even social media, right? You can target, but it's not nearly as integrated or engaging or meaningful as being able to have, 20 professional soccer players that when they go out into the community and speak to the kids in the schools and conduct clinics and support incredible community events, that impact it takes it to a completely different level, because as a young kid looking up to these professional athletes, they might as well be Messi, even if they're not, right? It's just, we all remember that as a young man going out with our dads to, for me, that Atlanta Chiefs, Seattle Sounders game. I still have the autograph card of Mike Balson, right? Who might as well have been the biggest athlete in the world at that time. But he autographed, spent some time with me at the game. I then went to a Mike Balson soccer camp after that, and still have that card in my home office just to remind me of the impact and power of sport. And I could still tell you who the sponsor is on that card. And so that's just an example of just the power of sport. And for the right companies, it's a pretty powerful platform.
Yeah, and also I would say, you can buy all the Facebook ads in the world, but, to get 20 6-year-olds to walk around in a New Amsterdam shirt with a Fruit Street logo on it, and that to show up on Google when somebody looks up Fruit Street, I mean, you can't buy that through social media, right? It has to be something that happens in the real world. So it's interesting. We're also going to have the players for New Amsterdam work with a virtual dietitian through the Fruit Street app as well, to be kind of like role models, so that we could hopefully get like the fans and the player and the youth players to say, oh, these professional soccer players, they're setting the example for our community that it's important to take care of our diet, our exercise, be the right weight. And so to kind of be that almost like a public health kind of role model as well, I think it's an interesting concept.
How does it, so you're the soccer genius and you're kind of, I love what you said, like sales, marketing, and soccer. So as you guys approach this new football club, give us some insight into like, what are some of the business things, the like business elements that you have to be paying attention to in order to actually run a profitable club that can continue to grow and have the social impact you guys desire?
Yeah, so the playbook, if you will, was created pre-COVID-19, right? So launching a professional soccer team, running and operating that professional soccer team, we're in unprecedented times, and I know that's a term that's overused, but it's true. And so, the original go-to-market strategy and some of the stuff we were going to do, we basically had to take that and put it on the shelf and adapt to obviously what was going on and make sure that we were not tone deaf in our approach to this thing and understood the seriousness of this, but at the same time also understood that it's not the end of the world. We are going to get through this together, and when we do, sports is going to play a critical role to helping us get back to some form of normalcy. And so we did a soft launch with the brand, and fortunately through Fruit Street and the network of contacts Laurence has, we've got a solid sponsorship base, which helps. Not a lot of teams would have that in our position, and would frankly probably not launch during this time. They would have held off, but we all agreed there was a right way of doing it. Let's do this. Let's provide hope. Let's provide inspiration to the community, and now there's going to be sort of the phase 2 of rolling that out as we're starting to kick COVID, as we say. So the other piece is just make sure we have the right business model. And so too often, and this is where I say I have 25 years of mistakes and 25 years of success, and that's a lot of value to be able to bring to ensure that we're not making the same mistakes that have been made in the past. We'll make other mistakes because we all do, and we learn from them and get better as a result of it. But a lot of the sort of 101 mistakes and 201 mistakes that a lot of organizations make when they're launching and put themselves in a position where they're chasing it from the beginning, we're not going to make those. So we've got the right business model, we've got the right ownership, we've got the right people involved, and we've got a cool, relevant brand that people have really taken to, and now it's about building out the team and providing opportunities to local players. That there's going to be some really inspirational storylines to come out of that are real and meaningful. And I think all this does go back to community. Is when you look at the team is going to be a representation of New York City, and so so many different nationalities and religion, race, creed. You've got all of that in soccer, which other sports don't provide that, which, if you can make that meaningful connection with the community, which we will do, man, there's a ton of potential with this thing. So, right business model, adapting to the world we live in right now, and making sure we don't replicate the mistakes of the past.
Yeah, and also I think we're using some of our software resources to build a really cool website, a mobile app where people can do things like buy apparel, season tickets, that kind of thing. I mean, you basically get your revenue from sponsorship sales, ticket sales, apparel, youth programs, and then also you can get huge fees for selling players on to Europe, for example. So for youth players, it's either about maybe getting a college scholarship, or some of them might even play professionally. Lee, let's show the logo video for a second for those that haven't seen it. So anyway, that was one of the logos videos we put together. But
Oh, good.
I love that you're bringing in
Gets
the
me
orange
excited every time.
from the Netherlands. Because when I see that orange, I think about
Yeah.
the Netherlands soccer team. So I
Right.
love that you guys are bringing that over.
Yeah, it's another interesting question, though. I mean, there are direct economic benefits that you can get from sports sponsorship, like we discussed, where, we literally have people that invested in Fruit Street just because they were so impressed that we were sponsoring New Amsterdam, right? So sure, there's direct benefits, but I think it's an interesting question on like what the role of corporations play in general. For example, you have, obviously there's a lot of controversy around, I'm going to take this in a surprising direction, but George Floyd's death, right? And now you have all these big companies. I think it was Boston Scientific, for example, that made like a $1 million donation, for example, to some sort of charitable organization. I mean, it's like, what is the role of a corporation? Is it to just make as much profit as possible to shareholders, or do they actually have a responsibility to do things that have a social impact that are not necessarily even related at all to the profitability, like donating to fight racism or building youth sports in their local community? So I mean, I don't know, Lee or Seth, do you have any comments there?
Yeah, I think the beautiful thing about, once again, you've got
go ahead.
Yeah, you got a professional grassroots club that part of the core value and commitment is to giving back to the community, making the community where we all live, work, and play a better place to live, work, and play. And that's not something that needs to happen just when you have an unfortunate incident, or this needs to be ongoing. This needs to be something that's 24/7, 365. And so the cool thing is, for companies that agree with that and it fits their core values and their vision and mission, working with a grassroots community-based professional soccer club or even other professional sports, that's what they're doing day in, day out. Man, that's when I think we sleep better at night, right? Because not only are we doing something we love, growing a business that we're very passionate about, but we're helping the community and we're helping give back. And a lot of that is helping the youth, but also doing our part to be good corporate citizens.
Right.
I'm so glad you answered that, Michael, because it was so much better than the answer that Lee or Seth would have given. Anyway, they're just good at asking questions. But anyway.
Hey now.
I'm just kidding. But the other thing that we're looking forward to with Fruit Street is, and New Amsterdam, is beating all of the teams that have sponsors that are unhealthy. So, for example, Taco Bell or New York Red Bulls, for example. So those should be very interesting matches. It's like the healthy versus the unhealthy food. Although yeah. I really unfortunately do like, I've gotten interested in Taco Bell over the last 2 months because there's nothing open. So Taco Bell is actually quite good, but maybe not the healthiest thing in the world. But
it might taste good, but it might not be good for you.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, and I'm sure, like, kind of speaking off of that question, I mean, there's some companies that they see something with the social impact, like this example with George Floyd is happening, and they're like, they want to get involved simply for the press and simply for the exposure. But then there's other companies that you can tell they actually have a social interest and a social impact. Michael, have you seen that with some corporate sponsors of soccer clubs where there's kind of these two camps of like, we just want the exposure, we don't really care about soccer or the community, and then there's these ones that like they're actually ingrained in, like, we believe in what this is doing for the community? Is it challenging to figure out like who would be like a really authentic, value connected sponsor versus just somebody that's like, whatever, we just want more numbers?
Yeah, I think you have the two schools, as you mentioned. You've got sponsors that it's really, they're looking at you as an advertising platform that can help them grow their business, maintain or increase market share, et cetera, et cetera. And then you've got companies that view it more as a partnership, and it's how is this mutually beneficial, not just for the company, so I'm getting the value of advertising and the ability to entertain with tickets and do those things to grow my business, reward my hardworking executives and employees. But I see it as there's something more. And those are usually the ones that, once again, community is a really big part of it, right? They want to be involved in an existing program that you have with the youth in the community, or just key initiatives and programs in the community, or they want to bring those programs that they believe in and want you to add value to that through access to the professional athletes, to the resources that a professional club has, to the game day experience, to the platform of digital broadcast, all the technology which Laurence mentioned. So yeah, I mean, to us, it certainly is more fun to work with the partners because they're usually more engaged, they bring more to the table, and they also view it for all the right reasons, which includes growing their business. That's an important part of it. But you also have some out there that they see it more as an advertising platform than a true partnership.
Yeah. I think that's really interesting, and I'm sure you have many case studies of how partnerships work and don't work and stuff. Laurence, what can people what's next for New Amsterdam Football Club? Obviously, at the time of this recording, it's early June. There's still a lot of uncertainty in what coming months look like and what professional sports. And so kind of as we bring this conversation on the football club to a close, what's coming up? What's next for the football club?
Yeah, I mean, we'll be launching our website in the next couple of weeks where you could buy merchandise and, purchase season tickets and that kind of thing. Obviously, we don't know what's going to happen with COVID and all that kind of stuff, but at some point we will return. Governor Cuomo has allowed professional teams to start training again, so you'll see some training videos and that kind of thing. But yeah, I mean, we're just looking forward to the world returning to normal again and launching a youth academy and playing again and that kind of thing. But the next step is everybody can buy some scarves. Michael is a scarf guy, so I like scarves too. But we also have hats. We didn't send you a hat. Max actually got New Amsterdam hats, Michael, so I got to send you one. But yeah, those are some of the things on the horizon.
Awesome. You got to get the soccer scarves. Everybody's got to have their soccer scarves.
Yes, exactly.
That's great. Well, Laurence, Michael, Lee, thank you guys so much. And Michael, we'll have to have you back on the show to continue talking about how this new football club continues to develop.
Absolutely.
Thanks,
anytime.
Great.
Thanks.
All right. That was great. Thanks so much, Michael.
Oh, my pleasure. Appreciate it. Glad it worked out. And yeah, anytime. Would love to join you guys. You got a good
All right, thanks. All right, talk soon.
Hey, no, before you go, Laurence, during one of these conversations, I can't always just say, yes, agreed. But that's what was happening in my mind. Yeah, by the way, I played soccer all the time when I was a kid. My brother still plays it to this day. He's in his 40s like me. And so soccer's massive in my family. And I just got to say, all through this conversation, I was like, yes, agreed.
Good.
Anyway, so thank you, Michael, for being real. Laurence, thank you for setting this up. You too, Seth, for all the emails. Anything else for us?
No,
Michael,
good.
do we? Okay, that's good. Thanks.
Gotta go to another call. All right, thanks.
Okay.
Hey, everyone. Thank you so much for listening to another episode of Digital Health Entrepreneurship Daily. This was awesome because we got to finally learn more about what Laurence has been up to with his soccer team in New York City. If you haven't already, take a look through our other episodes on YouTube or on our podcasting platform to learn more about entrepreneurship, digital health innovation, fundraising. All of those things are topics that we talk about regularly here on Digital Health Entrepreneurship. Make sure to leave a review if you haven't, and we'll see you next time on the show.